Hi, welcome back to my series, 100 Spotify Wrapped Characters, where I make a character for each song on my Spotify Wrapped of 2025. We have made it to the 10th character. This is song number 90, and it is Too Sweet by Hozier. I know, don't come for me. So I have a lot of mixed feelings about this song. It's actually the one that got me back into Hozier's music after taking a long break away, but not for the reason you might think. My friend sent me a bunch of hype messages about how he made a new song, and I'm like, well, yeah, he made a new album. I haven't listened yet. And then she sent me a screenshot from a TikTok, like analyzing the lyrics of the new song. And I was like, let me read it for you. Anonymous TikTok user says, okay, but like, can we applaud Hozier for 1 second for subverting the trope of the ingenue? I don't know how to pronounce that word. I'm gonna say it however I want. The person he's rejecting is bright, soft, pretty, all the things that a typical leading lady is fetishized as. Instead, he's saying the ingenue is a grape that needs to sit in a barrel and to mature into wine. The ingenue is a grape is killing me. Someone who hasn't been turned bitter by experience and time yet, because that's the only thing that experience and time can do to a person, obviously. But he doesn't want someone immature. He likes his whiskey neat and his coffee bitter. This one's for the girlies who the world hurt and we matured from it, and we are here for it. You know you can mature from nice things happening to you too, right? And like, you don't have to make bitterness a personality trait. I've prepared a written statement. So I read that and I was like, And then I looked online and the fandom was just weird about this one, I'm not gonna lie. And I think it's super funny because in a behind the scenes or like an interview or something, Hozier was explaining this phrase that I find incredibly useful that does not exist here in the heathen United States. The phrase is too sweet to be savory, like the idea of a person who seems maybe a little fake. They can't really be real with you because they have to be sweet all the time. A youth pastor would call it the fear of man. And they would be right. I just think that it's funny that people were crawling out of the woodwork talking about how Hozier wants to date a traumatized girly who's mature because she's traumatized, and that's what the song means. And I think it's just like a Dear John letter. It's kind of like, it's not you, it's kind of you, but it's also me. We don't mesh. That's all he's saying. It's like, I like this and you like that, and you kind of seem to judge me for liking this when the way you live is not all that different. That's what I got out of it. I don't know, maybe I'm stupid, maybe I'm a rube. On the off chance that you are the girl who made this TikTok, I can't even lie to you. I was and still am like hardcore judgy about the way that you worded your opinion. This is an apology video now, by the way. I just thought it was worded really pretentiously and erred on the side of glamorizing trauma. So instead of being fake, being too sweet to be savory, and pretending like I was totally cool with it or thought it was super smart, I want to apologize for being literally so spiteful about your lyrical analysis that it actually re-sparked a Hozier phase in my own personal life. I wanted to hear the song for myself and debunk everything you had just said. And in the end, I think I just actually have to thank you and re-apologize for being nasty about it. And I hope we're cool now and that life has been kind to you in the Hozier Renaissance. There was no ukulele in this apology, so I guess it doesn't count as one. Is that joke dead yet? Is the dead horse thoroughly beat? Anyways, to make a character based on this song, I need to create someone who's a lovable vagabond, right? Someone who's flawed, but knows that they're flawed and they embrace it. Yet they also have mass appeal, right? Someone who's kind of unhealthy, maybe does things that are like gross societally, but everybody likes them, they're very charismatic. We need to make someone who's nocturnal, who's averse to attention, who's cute somehow. There's one obvious answer to this. That's right, I'm just gonna make a raccoon. I can't take this song too seriously, I literally can't. I thought about making an OC based on the narrator or the subject, and I can only make an OC as good as the stupid TSA line. Like, how did that one not read as an obvious like joke or like very tongue-in-cheek, like cheeky? This is not Byronic hero Hozier, okay? This is sort of petty, pre-breakup, mid-breakup Hozier who's like, it just didn't work, you're weird. So I've made a raccoon with a drinking problem because he likes his whiskey neat. He lives in a church steeple because the song has random church bells in it. I was telling my husband about it. He was like, oh, is he singing the song to Cotton Candy? And I was like, yeah, he is. We get a cotton candy and we get a raccoon. Don't come for me. I'm gonna start making this animal. So I feel like I don't show my digital process very frequently on this channel. I've done a couple time lapses, but I've done everything mostly traditionally. Part of this is genuinely to combat the rise of AI art, but also part of this is because I'm a much more confident and capable traditional artist than digital in a lot of ways. I'm gonna go ahead and choose a brush I like in Procreate. I often work with flat square and dry ink, which are some vanilla brushes that come with the program. I think buying brushes is not a scam, but like, it's not gonna make you do more than you already are. And I'm just gonna block in a fat loaf shape. The nice thing about digital art is I can draw a couple little like low effort sketches and move them around, and then I'll resize this one in a few minutes. And it doesn't really matter too much because they'll lose a little bit of visual quality and fidelity when you do that, but this is just a sketch to get a shape and an idea that I like. There was a raccoon that lived on the roof of my childhood house when I was in high school, and it chewed a hole in the chimney so that it could go inside and live in the chimney. And we called him Big Rig because he was like double wide. And we ended up finding a trapper who didn't kill animals, and he said that raccoons love tuna fish and they love marshmallows. So really, I should be doing this and then erasing a little hole for the eyes. That's another fun thing about digital art, is that it's a lot easier to sort of cheat your way. I'm sick of people calling them trash pandas just because it's like a Marvel movie reference, so I'm not stoked to the moon about that one. Yeah, okay, so here's some animals. I often will make a ton of layers just to sketch things, and they never show up anywhere in the finished work. I'm gonna try to not do that this time. There are some animals where I always start with the head when I'm drawing them. Horses are like that. But with raccoons, I kind of have to do the body first. Like, I blocked in the head first here just to see how that would feel. It's working okay, actually, in this case, but often I immediately get a little lost. I'm gonna have the tail curling, like, towards the viewer. I try never to resize anything, if it's not just a sketch. This is gonna be an attempt at making sketchy-looking line art that looks nice. And if I don't like it, I'm gonna change the... I interrupt myself constantly. I'm sure it's really frustrating to listen to on YouTube, and I'm sorry about that. I always change the eraser to match the brush I'm using. Anyways, I'm trying a sketchier line art style for this one, and if it doesn't work out, I can always do better lines over the top of this layer and forget about it. But I'm going to try to avoid resizing anything on this layer until I know whether or not I'm gonna use it at all. I don't know why that was so difficult for me to articulate, but I did it. I'm always tempted to draw raccoons with little hands, but they do have paws. Like, their paws have long fingers, but it's still a paw. They don't have an opposable thumb or any of that fancy stuff, and they still manage to do so many horrible things, even with their limited abilities. Oh, that paw's facing us. That's another thing I'm trying to wean myself out of. One of the things that was very appealing to me about digital art as like a baby artist was the ability to zoom way in and put a billion little details. But a lot of people would always give the advice not to zoom in at all. And I would be like, that's stupid. You should zoom in because you can. Maybe do zoom in when you want to, but because I was so zoomed in here, I forgot what direction that foot was facing. It's facing out this way, not sideways that way. And I almost made a mistake on my line art. The black mark on the face is like a vertical stripe. I'm gonna leave a little bit of white there for a suggestion of a nose. I like that better. And then that seems good. That line was an accident. That was my thumb hitting the screen as I went to rotate it, but that's kind of a good spot for the eye, huh? A happy accident. Yeah, okay. This is a good animal. There we go. I'm still like really delighted by this, like, you know, he's just not enthused about anything. I was thinking about this goofy interpretation of the song being from the perspective of a raccoon, I still like my husband's silly ad-lib about the object of his affection being a cotton candy, because it like disappears in the water. It's like a disappointment. It's not what he thought it was going to be. It works well. But I also kind of like the idea of a raccoon developing a crush on like a woman in a Neutrogena billboard or something like that, like an ad for a beauty product, one of the like clean girl aesthetic type beauty products, where he's just like, man, she's so pretentious. Who does she think she is? And it's like the same model that's in a bunch of different billboards around town for the same beauty product, and the raccoon's just like, she's beautiful, but it would never work. Like, I think it would be really goofy, but also a little weird. Like, even played for a joke, that's a little weird. So I don't know how much I like this solid black line art for where the black stripes are, but I know that I can go in later and do some hatch lines or something over top of it if I don't like it. My new favorite trick for making digital art feel a little more textured is adding hatch lines in a textured brush over where fur or hair, straight hair, is supposed to be, because it just breathes a little bit of life in, and I'll highlight that later when I'm doing it. Okay, he's a raccoon. I'm gonna duplicate this layer in case if I make any mistakes that I feel like I can't come back from, and then I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna clean up some of the lines. That looks a little better. I'm gonna get rid of this strange halo. He's not the kind of raccoon that would have a halo, I'm afraid. Okay, cool. I'm gonna make a layer underneath. That's gonna be the layer I color on. I'm gonna choose a bright color that will stand out against the background. I'm gonna choose a very flat brush that's good for unbroken lines so that I can bucket fill this. Oh, you know what I'm gonna do also? I'm gonna draw the outline of the colored area over top of the line art. I'm so sorry about my vocal fry, by the way. It's the way I was made and the way that I talk. So it's not going to change, but I am sorry about it all the same. Okay, paint bucket fill. Now I've got the outline that I can color on. I put it under the lines, and then I'll show you this kind of sharp, harsh bit here. If I come in with the eraser a little bit, that makes it a little better. And then if I come back in, this was the flat square brush, and just kind of work it back out with that brush. Okay, yeah, see, that's softened now. And then most people probably already know this, but if you alpha lock this layer, suddenly I can go in with red, but it won't go outside of the pixels that already had color on them. I'm gonna go, once I've figured out a good color for this base layer, which I kind of took our background into the medium beige territory just to get us close to there. That seems fine. Now I'm gonna make a layer above it, I'm gonna do a clipping mask, and then it's the same story. I can't go outside the layer below it. I'm gonna give him orange eyes, because that was inspired. Yes, okay. And then they just have like a snip of paler, like almost white around the mouth. That might even be a little too white. That looks a little better. And raccoons can have any kind of color, really. They can look however they want to, but I'm gonna make this one very bog standard. Just a guy. And then they have a little white stripe above the black bands on their eyes. This is such a good animal, peak animal design. Not on my part, on God's part, just to make that clear. I'm not patting my own back here. I'm gonna do a little darker, but still a little paler on the tail. I heard that Siamese cats, I promise this will connect in. I heard that Siamese cats have the seal point coloration, like the tips of their faces and paws are that dark color, because that's where they tend to get cold. I wonder if raccoons have kind of the opposite pigmentation deal going on, where the extremities that get coldest have a paler pigmentation. Although their hands are pretty dark colored, and I would imagine the hands get pretty cold. Now I'm just kind of going in with this brush because it's textured and adding splotches of different colors on the body. And I'm going to select just the body part that has all the different colors splotched in. And I'm going to apply a tiny, tiny bit of Gaussian blur. But I don't like using Gaussian blur because it does feel like a shortcut in a lot of cases. So with 0% versus with 2%, that seems like too much. I'm going to do 1%. Yay. And then what I kind of especially don't like here is the way that you can tell it's still brush strokes. So I may add some motion blur. No, you can still tell it's brush strokes. I'm deluding myself. So I'm going to make this more opaque and go the opposite direction. And then come back in with some of the original color over the top. That looks a little better. Okay, here's the raccoon. And this would have gone even faster if I wasn't yapping so much, but that's why we're here, right? I don't like that pale color. I'm going to go in with the body color and just do a couple little hatches on top of the tail to see how that goes. I need to stop with the undo button. Wow, it's a disenchanted raccoon. I do like it with the little hatch marks. I'm gonna try some on its body. It feels like cheating. Like, I just feel like these heighten the drawing so much. It was a game changer once I noticed that artists I enjoy do stuff like this. It just looks more polished and more finished to me. I'm not sure what else to do for him. I guess I will add a cotton candy background. While that time lapse plays, I'm going to talk about this week's artist inspiration. Her name is Sarah Vargas. She does character design. She is on Instagram as Sarah Says, and she's on Twitter and Tumblr as A Real Trash Act. I really love her work. She has a very fun storybook illustration style. It's very distinct. I would know her work anywhere. She's done some really good art for books and movies, things like Labyrinth or Wuthering Heights, even Alvin and the Chipmunks, for crying out loud. But she also genuinely has an art job doing character design for cartoon series. So occasionally you might see something that is her work and not even realize it. She's just so cool. She's genuinely so inspiring. I would really like to have even a fraction of her talent, but I'm just gonna have to settle for upping my skill game instead. So absolutely go check out her art. It's so colorful, it's so fun, and I just wish her all the opportunities in the future to keep making the things she wants to make, because she is clearly good at it. So that's my artist inspiration this week. As this video finishes out, I want to correct something I said very enthusiastically in the intro. I was like, oh, we're at our 10th character. We're not, we're at character number 9, and I know that. The reason I thought that is because I've had to save a song on the list for later. If I was skipping a song, I would let you know, but this one is one of 5 off the same instrumental lo-fi album that made it into my top 100. So I have a special plan for those 5 songs together, but that will be at a later date. So I'm sorry for the confusion at the intro. I hope it wasn't too jarring. And I don't have too much else to say about this. I have a short little gif that I made of this raccoon drinking whiskey. It's not neat. I didn't realize that you're not supposed to even have ice in a neat whiskey, so that shows you how much I know. But here he is, and I will see you next week. Thanks for watching.